Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Iterate, and the MMA Detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy.
Welcome back to the Lights Out Podcast. I am the MMA Detective, Mike Davis. Along with me, as always, Miguel Iterate. Miguel, we've got a special guest today, Ed Thiesen. Ed, welcome to the program. You have a couple interesting items. Why don't we start with the first one?
Well, today I got Ken Shamrock's shorts from UFC 48. It was his fight against Kimo. It was a heavyweight bout that ended in the very first round. They're kind of tiny little shorts here that Ken wore quite often, but I really like the colors of them. Ken actually signed them for me. He even did a certificate of authenticity for me on them. Ken is kind of one of those guys that takes good care of his fans, and collectors. He kind of cares about that sort of thing. So I wrote him a letter. I told him I had the shorts, who I acquired from another collector friend of mine from out in California by the name of Jeremy Kubal. He was like one of the very first collectors of NHB and MMA memorabilia. And he actually had went through a divorce at one time, and I ended up buying, I would say, about 75% of his collection. And these Ken Shamrock shorts were part of that. He'd also had the gloves, but he sold the gloves, unfortunately, to a guy from Japan by the name of Tezuka. And unfortunately, I didn't get those, but I'll tell you, the shorts are very cool too. So.
Okay, so Kimo and Ken, they're both from California. UFC 48 took place June 19th, 2004. And this was like a really much hyped fight with the belief that Ken Shamrock was the A side of the card. And Miguel, like when you watch the fight, the crowd's actually chanting for Kimo. It's like you figured like Kimo was the B side, but he wasn't. And there was quite a bit of trash talk in this bout as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's UFC 48, so to be quite honest, it's a little bit past both of their prime times in the UFC. But I think that's what made it, an interesting fight at the time. Was the UFC was looking for the name recognition. This is Dana White and Zuffa putting this fight together, and they were looking for the old school name recognition that these guys bought along there. If I'm not mistaken, Kimo was coming off like a win against Tank Abbott. So this was that era where the UFC could still get something out of these guys as they were rising and beginning, to get bigger. And that's what makes him notable, because this is, Ken returning to the UFC too in kind of like a privileged role. Like they treated, like I believe Zuffa and, Dana White gave Ken a lot of chances, to be on TV and stuff like that. And they treated him with a lot more respect than they seem to treat Hoyce and some of the other guys. And maybe it's because Ken was more open to getting back in the ring. But that's what made it a big fight. Ken.
It was a rematch. It was a rematch as well from UFC 8.
And in 48, UFC 48, you're talking about presenting these guys as legends already. And these are the first wave of guys. And that's why, just about anything with Ken Shamrock is notable.
Yeah, right. With the UFC 8 rematch, it was, we're talking UFC 48. They were still touching on nostalgia era, from the Art Davie, Bob Meyerowitz days. And, to note, it was also Ken's last significant win. He won with a knee to the head right up the middle and folded Kimo. So Ed, these shorts, are they going to go up on a wall one day? Are they going to be in a frame?
Well, I'm hoping they'll be in a museum one day, but yes, for sure they will be in a frame.
That's excellent. So you and Charlie Smith both have a museum project that you guys are working on. How far away from brick and mortar do you think you two are at?
Well, it's tough, because we would like to see it out in Las Vegas. Everything is very expensive out there. So I'm thinking our best chance would be if we could find like a casino that has space that wouldn't mind having the museum in their casino, which would bring in guests. And, I just think that would be the most affordable thing. unless there's grant money available. I mean, we're not right there yet because both of us are still working. We don't have the time to just spend 24/7 on this right now. But I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll have a little more freedom to do this kind of thing. So I'm hoping within 5 to 8 years, we'll have that.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So Ken Shamrock, UFC 48, obviously very significant. Ken gave you the COA. You got it from a guy in California. What kind of perceived value do you think an item like this might have?
Man, I don't know. They're kind of priceless. It's whatever somebody would pay. I mean, one person might pay more than the other. They're never going to be for sale as long as I own them. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't want to put a price because I don't know.
That's excellent. Excellent.
It's Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man. I mean, the guy is a legend in the sport. So he's one of the guys that would bring top buck. That's for sure.
That's excellent.
This was the fight that, Ken, based on this win, went into the Rich Franklin fight. And that was, like a newer guy against a legend guy, and the UFC still trying to get stuff at him. So you're coming to the very tail end of Ken's viability. The rest of his career after this point, or right around 2005, really turned into a circus. But this is the last of the vintage Ken Shamrock stuff you'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much. We will have more episodes like this in the very near future. Ed, we'll have you back shortly.
Thank you very much for having me.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.